Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 251 continues to take our minds and just completely screw with them, but in a really good way. Yuji and Yuta are double teaming Sukuna in a way that definitely gives off vibes that Sukuna is on his last stand, barring some type of a surprise trump card that he hasn't yet played, and Yuji has finally put in the final steps in place to get back Fushigoro's soul from Sukuna, but there's an obvious hiccup to this plan. However, for now, let's back things up and let's dive into the review itself because there's a lot to unpack here in this chapter. We open up where the last chapter left off. Yuta has attacked Sukuna with cleave, and Sukuna immediately recognized what has gone on as to why Yuta can suddenly use Sukuna's curse technique, and he draws a straight line to his remaining final finger, which Gege is really smart by beginning to give us the answer to the truth regarding the final finger that was out there before this fight even began. It's a long-term booking move by Gege in this moment to have us wait for the reveal for the final finger, but he also gave us enough to have it brought front and center to the front of our minds and still find a way to make us speculate as to what exactly happened. Did Rika eat the finger? Did Yuta eat the finger? Did Angel destroy it? There's a lot that you can infer from what Sukuna's saying here. And just before he's going to give us the reveal about what happened here with the final finger, you're left off because of all the action. That's a clear Chekhov's gun. We're going to circle back to this. I don't think we're done with any conversations about the final finger. Now, while Sukuna tries to withstand the double team of Itadori and Okotsu, Yuji slams his knee into Sukuna's face and shows the unpredictable side to him by turning a negative situation into a positive situation, because right when Sukuna thinks he's landed a counterattack by having Yuji coughing up blood, Yuji blows all that blood into Sukuna's face, just spitting it right into his eye and face, both as a sign of disrespect, but also in order to set up a long-term trap that will catch Sukuna off guard when he least expects it. And we'll get to that later on in the review, because Yuji right now is doing the long game and he's got a few moves up his sleeve that Sukuna hasn't anticipated. Itadori's attack also serves as a third thing, which is to create an opening for Okotsu to slam Sukuna with an uppercut, which allows him to keep continuing to pressure Sukuna to try and get him to force a break in the hollow wicker basket so they can move into the final steps of Itadori's plan to save Fushigoro. There's a level of urgency with Yuji and Okotsu's attacks and with their behavior that lets you know that they're both reaching their limit and how they know their window is closing to bring down Sukuna, which is why when Rika and Yuta are tag teaming Sukuna, you got Yuji desperately trying to continuously use reverse curse technique to heal up so he can join in the fight, because so much of their plan depends on Itadori, because he's the key to bringing down Sukuna and freeing Megumi Fushigoro. The trio's combined attacks, it continues to manage to do damage to accomplish their goal of forcing Sukuna to break hollow wicker basket, and this allows them the chance to move into the next phase of their plan. But it does come with its own fair share of risk, and these are huge risks, because Sukuna now with this other two hands free, it opens him up to Okotsu's domain expansion, sure hit, but he also can now use the world splitting dismantle. But unfortunately for him, Sukuna is learning the hard way when you're the final villain in a shonen series. The most dangerous thing that you can do is give your enemy a battle, in particular the series protagonist, a battle where they have prep time, because the moment that you do so, they're going to come into this fight with numerous counter strategies ready for you. And in this instance, he's got double trouble. He's got the former main character of the original series, Okotsu, and now he's got the current main character of the main series, Itadori, teaming up on him, and they immediately launch into their backup plan that they had in place for the moment that Sukuna broke his simple domain hollow wicker basket. It's all hands on deck at this point. Yuji is grabbing Sukuna's arms, Rika's trying to get him from behind, Okotsu is pressuring Sukuna from the side. Okotsu takes note of the fact that Sukuna's slashes are getting weaker as the fight's raging on, and he draws his katana and he's preparing to lunge forward for another attack. However, he doesn't just blindly rush in right away. He's purposely timing his attack, waiting on Itadori. Back when Yuji was spitting all that blood into Sukuna's face, particularly on his eye and his arm, it wasn't just Yuta's way of giving the middle finger to Sukuna, but it was also so that Sukuna would be dripped in Itadori's blood and so Yuji detonates it midway through Sukuna's preparation for a counter of Okotsu's next attack, and it's now created an opening for Okotsu. This leads us into the flashback during that 1 month before the battle took place, and we see more layers to the plan that Angel is putting together with the Jujutsu High Cast and Choso to bring down Sukuna, and we see that that soul book that was left behind to Yuji has played a rather big role in their plan. And what I love about this is that it's something that indirectly addresses some of the critiques that Twitter had, in particular with this latest season of Jujutsu Kaisen, where everyone lost their minds about all the back-to-back deaths that you had. Nanami died, Nobara died, I can't take it, all my favorites are dying, why am I going through this? In a series that literally told us in the first volume that there wasn't this high life expectancy for Jujutsu sorcerers in this world. But in this moment right here, we see that Gege understands one of the components when it comes to killing off characters. You give a green light to kill them off when they no longer serve a purpose to the story, and there's a need to raise the stakes. But also, most importantly, a good writer understands that when the character's been killed off, it doesn't mean that their impact on the story just goes away. A good writer finds a way to bring them back into the story in some kind of a significant way. You see that with Choso's brothers, where they got killed off, but they still managed to play a role because of that whole thing with the memories and all that. And you see it here with Yuki. She's a great example of it. The book that Yuji is holding belonged to Yuki, who has been long dead for a minute now. Yet the gift that she left behind is basically a major crux, if not the biggest crux to her plan to rescue Fushiguro from Sukuna. She's gone, but she's still continuing to pay dividends to the heroes, even this long after being taken and departed to the afterlife. She's gone, but you could argue right now she's never been more important to the story than she is right now. The same when it comes to Gojo, because had it not been for him in that epic battle with Sukuna, weakening Sukuna to such an extent, they wouldn't even have this opportunity to bring down Sukuna. In short, based off of the notes that Yuki has left behind, she's saying that souls will never become one if they're mixed together, and based off of her notes, Itadori and Sukuna, they're a special case exception, but even when Itadori thinks that they still have a chance to save Fushiguro, even if he's a exception to the rule like Yuji was, it all goes back to a cursed spirit that everyone loves to hate. Mahito is another example of a character giving more to the story long after their death. Mahito is the reason that Yuji is so confident that things will work out this time with Fushiguro, because he says unless it's something like Mahito's transfiguration, there's no need to worry about Sukuna and Fushiguro's souls becoming one, and he vows to shake Fushiguro free of Sukuna's control, which is why we've been seeing Sukuna's body vibrate over the last few chapters. Whenever Itadori's been able to land a body shot on him, Sukuna's been vibrating. This was all by design. Bit by bit, he's making his way to Megumi. Upon hearing Yuji's plan, Angel confirms that they can use her curse technique to take down Sukuna, and if Yuji is able to successfully free Megumi from Sukuna, then they can use it without having to worry about Megumi's brain being fried. But then again, looking at how many times Gojo busted out domain expansion during that Sukuna fight, you gotta wonder if Gege even really gave a damn about Megumi potentially being a vegetable with slob going all down the side of his face. The story then shifts back to the present day, and we see Okotsu busting out Jacob's ladder, and just as Sukuna predicted that they would do in the last manga chapter when he was breaking down the possibilities of their plan, as Sukuna's getting penetrated, Yuji is focused on trying to wake up Fushiguro, but we got a major problem here. Fushiguro has lost the will to live, and honestly, after everything that he's gone through since the start of the calling game, from having his body taken by Sukuna to having his soul dipped in that ritual to what happened with his sister, Fushiguro has every right to want to give up on wanting to live, and we're seeing what happens when true despair grips someone and pushes them past their breaking point. We've seen the signs before in the past where we've had moments where we would see Gege and he would show us Fushiguro's predicament while Sukuna was controlling his body and he was dipped in despair. But right now, seeing him like this, head on the ground, pounding his fists and admitting defeat, giving up on the will to live, he's been broken and shattered into potentially more pieces than Yuji could ever hope to actually pick up. It's something that really hits you and makes you feel for the character. Unfortunately for Yuji, this comes at the worst possible time, because Okotsu has been hit by the same attack that left Gojo half the man he used to be, and Okotsu's domain expansion barrier is showing cracks in it, but just as Sukuna begins to breathe a sigh of relief, a new challenger has appeared. Maki Zenin pops up, stabbing Sukuna from behind, and this time Sukuna is going to be in for it because Gege has been saving Maki for this exact moment. As we're going through all the previous chapters that were leading to this, we all kept wondering, where the hell is Maki at? Because a powerhouse like that, she's a tide shifter in a Sukuna battle. If you just have everybody gang up on Sukuna, but layering the combatants that Sukuna has to deal with, stacking them one on top of the other like compounding interest, he's been forced to use up more of his energy and is slowing his recovery, which is giving Yuji that precious time needed to break Fushigoro out. But Megumi is so messed up in the situation that it's thrown a wrench into their plans, and it's going to be interesting to see how Gege handles this, because while Maki is strong, this is Sukuna who she's going up against, and if Okotsu is cut in half, that's going to be an even tougher fight for her unless someone like Hakuri is able to actually jump in. I don't think we're in a situation where Sukuna is going to bite the dust just yet, but I do think it's going to be very interesting to see where this goes next.